Hey, what's up? It's Rev. Welcome back. Last time we did the art museum over there. Today decided to do some apartments here in the town area of Oasis Springs. Started out just blocking out my sidewalks and buildings. I always like to add extra sidewalks because you can't build up to them with fences or walls, and just you're never gonna match the gridding of the existing sidewalks, so I always just add an extra sidewalk inside on the actual build. But anyways, just started here blocking out my two buildings that are each going to hold 3 units for a total of 6, which is the default maximum of the game with the for rent pack. You can expand that with some of the cheats, but I like to just leave it as 6. I think 6 is a healthy number. Came out here to the back and just laid down some terrain paint and muddied it up a little so it's not flat looking. And jump over here, add our stairs so that you can get up to the 2nd and 3rd floor levels. Adding my balconies on the front, just slowly building up these 2 separate buildings. This side building over here is going to be a little utility shed area where I'll actually put the electrical boxes and the water heater from the for rent pack, so that's where the maintenance pieces will be. Just adding my roofing, my roof trim, and then this is right here where this build might start to look a little bit familiar to some people. This was inspired by the Kim Wexler's apartment in Better Call Saul. Great show. And I was really inspired by the exterior of that building. It is a real apartment building in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I was really a big fan of kind of the metal paneling that was on the front, as well as the bright colored exterior. So I did do that yellow exterior, and then for those paneling pieces, what I used was a wood siding piece in white, and I think it came out kind of looking like a sheet metal paneling like I wanted it to. And then over here just came in and blocked out all of my rooms for the floor plan. Kind of a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom layout for each apartment is what I ended up doing. This smaller side does end up having kind of a more open layout aside from the bedrooms and bathrooms. It was just kind of a weird space with how I wanted the door to come in there and where the balcony was sitting, because I did want that to be kind of like a public access, but jumped over here and threw all my windows in. And I was questioning if I wanted to do the windows like this all the way down, because those bottom apartments it feels like you might lose some privacy having those windows on the ground level right next to the main street. But I thought that it was fine how I ended up doing it. I try to use some plants and gardening to just cover the windows without fully blocking them. And then came in here and found my doors. This one is from, I want to say, Tiny Living, perhaps, that I use for the front door. And then for the balcony door, I ended up using this base game one with the windows on it, and then throw this little awning over the balconies, over the windows, just sized down a little bit, And then right here, I grabbed these wall vents and just sized them down on those areas, and where I'm placing those is the outside of where the washer and dryer is, so it's kind of like a dryer vent. And I came in here and I had a lot of fun doing this roof part, just kind of adding miscellaneous decorations to it to make it feel kind of realistic. I don't know how realistic this is with the solar panels, but I used that roof decoration piece from Life and Death to make kind of a cord between them. And I jumped back here and wanted to add a couple of awnings, and right here just delete one and refill it in with one that was placed aside, so that the trim on all of those fence pieces will be on the inside as well and not just around the outside of that square. And I just fence in this little area, which is just a little park for the apartment buildings. Grabbed a couple of trees and put down over there, but then end up moving it right there so that the shade is within the grass, just with the way the sun hits this lot. And then I throw a couple of grills out here, a couple of picnic tables. Wanted them to be pretty colorful, a little picnic blanket and some sunbathing towels, even though they're in the shade. And then a little hopscotch area for any child sims that are living in these units. And I jumped in here to where I was talking about this utility shed area, with the hot water heater and the electrical boxes. I don't think it matters that there's only one water heater for 6 units. I think it being placed in a shared area will make it so that that hot water heater works for all of the units. And over there, just throw in the exterior dumpster. Love that one from Eco Living. And then a couple of normal exterior trash cans for this park area out here. Then come in here with the mailboxes, and I was gonna use these, but then I ended up just wanting to give each apartment its own mailbox outside of the door, so I did do that with that one from Business and Hobbies, I want to say. And I come in here and add my washer and dryers to each unit in a little 2x1 room, and then just for some decoration add some downspouts. And this is a really cool thing. I sized down this circular awning just above those, and it kind of adds to the feel of this is actually connected to something that will let water come down. So then I jumped inside and threw in all my floors for the bathroom and kitchen areas with this tile, and then I ended up using this wood that I tend to use quite often for all of the other areas. I was considering using a low pile carpet, but ended up just sticking with the wood. Something about carpet for these kind of modern apartments didn't stick right with me. And then I came in here and started adding in the kitchen counters and cabinets, and I don't know why I really thought that I was going to actually use this yellow swatch for a minute, but I did not end up doing that. And then where that hall was for the entrance, I ended up getting rid of that wall, so that this is all one big room for the dining area, and it just gives space for a table to actually sit in there. And then I add all of my kitchen appliances, the stove and the sink in there. And then I am going to add a couple more windows for where your dining table will sit. That's what I'm going to call the dining room. Then I jump over to the small side and add these in. And I do end up this is where I've fully decided that I'm going with this tan wood. So I go back in and switch that for the other ones. And then I just add those all the way throughout that I have cut out. I'm not going to show doing 6 units, but I will show the top floor for each side because they are a different layout. And then I'd come in and do all of the bathrooms for the master side. And with this layout, I kind of end up changing how I originally wanted it to be, just because I wanted a empty wall for towels and it wasn't going to work how I had it. But I end up using just this base game toilet and then throw my mirrors in, leaving just a space on either side for either an outlet or a hand towel to hang. And this is where I move this closet that I had in here to the bedroom area because, like I said, I wanted to have a wall for the towels, and that closet was not going to allow for that with the layout that I had. So it does make the bathroom just a little bit bigger. Also gives me a nice space to put a hamper, since I did add the washer and dryer units into each of these. And then I figure out my interior doors right there. That one from the Dream Home Decorator, I want to say. And that's where I add those little kind of nightlight outlet things on either side of the mirror. I did that all the way up and down. And I know I'm adding these towels, but these are unfurnished. I do add the little decorations like that toilet paper holder and things kind of like that, but really all I'm doing with these units is making sure that they have what would be there when you move into an apartment. And because I don't have 6 households to move in right now, because I've not been actively playing the worlds, I'm kind of waiting until I fully build and finish my project that I'm doing until I start adding any households. So I will decorate personally when I'm ready to move Sims in. And I know most people like to kind of do their own thing with interior decoration anyways. A lot of people I know aren't big fans of having to build, but they love decorating. So I think it's fine to just say, hey, you have this blank canvas that is already built up so that you can just do what you want with it. And I add these blinds just on the bottom floor because, like I said before, it kind of felt like a privacy issue being on this main road with those low bottom floor windows. So I'm just kind of adding a couple curtains, small details that I think are okay to add and say that this is what it's gonna be there when you move in, but no personal furniture, no beds or anything like that. Just kind of messing around, seeing how I would like the layout of curtains and everything. I do add these curtains in all of them above the kitchen window, and then I've added those fans and some exterior lighting now for the balcony. I do tend to use this one quite a lot for exterior lighting. Not sure what kit that's from. Maybe it's Eco, or no, I believe that's the Sansequoia kit, or pack rather, sorry, that those come with. And I'm just making sure that my lighting looks okay. Add in this arch from Lovestruck to make those big openings, just make the area feel a lot more open overall. You can see here these small laundry rooms work out pretty good just for a 2x1 area. I add all my doors in for this smaller side. Pretty much done with the large side for now. I've done everything I wanted to, and then I was really unsure how I wanted this layout of the bathroom on this side to be, so I had to mess around with that for a little bit. And then this was the smaller bathroom that's gonna be like the more guests are using this. the bottom floor does end up being a little different, as you can assume on both of these, because the top 2 floors have that little jutting out part where I've done the paneling. That design choice was, of course, because the reference has it, but I don't think it caused too much issue. Pretty happy with how the layout ended up. You can see this, just a smaller master bath on that bottom floor, but I think it's okay. And then I go in and just make sure that I've done all of my floors for this smaller side, adding in my kitchen, and then I'm gonna go in and do all of the lights. I'm not sure how people feel about the saucer lights, but I tend to use them a lot just because they seem like one of the only lights that actually puts off a proper lighting. I never use these big ones, at least for interiors. I do end up using a couple of those outside, but I do just use these small saucer lights. I know some people don't like them. I will always like hide one in the fan if I don't want to see them. But I don't like how dark the spaces look with most other lights. But anyways, that's it. Had fun with this one. Hope you enjoyed. Of course, it's on the gallery under my name, and see you later in the next video.